I just made a phone call to my future father-in-law, and I kind of formally asked him his permission to become engaged to his daughter. I had never done this before. It was a new thing to me. I was like, wow, how do I? And I was wanting to ask for your permission to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage.
So even before we knew anything, she just felt like he was the one. But I said, well, don't say anything. Let's just pray about it and wait.
Without a Crystal Ball. That was my very loud, what do you call it, desk, and my little tray was just like whooshing in. Welcome. It's November 30th, and while we're patiently waiting on a ruling in Fayetteville, we have some updates that we need to talk about that are not related directly to the case, but kind of fallout from the case. And I think this is probably up the alley of those of you that like to find out like what's happening on social media and how people are feeling. So I think a couple days ago, you and I, we're going to talk about the Duggars, by the way, if you're not here and you don't understand that. This has been a very, very, very busy few months for me on this channel, and I have been bombarded with so much information from so many sources. And you know, I just want to thank those sources for consistently giving me amazing and relevant and factual and credible information, because everything that I have been reporting has come to fruition in this case, leading up to me knowing that there was going to be compelling testimony coming from someone around the Duggars about what Josh Duggar had done. And I had reason to believe it was going to be someone from their past. I just didn't know exactly who. And so when we heard the testimony of Bobby Holt, it was phenomenal that she was able to be so credible in her memory of what happened back in 2003 through 2005. So while we're waiting for the court to actually make a decision on if her testimony is going to be allowed and if they're going to allow what Josh did to his sisters into this case, let's talk about what's going on with social media, because Jim Bob was in court yesterday and he was asked about what happened to Josh and what happened with Josh and his sisters and what he could remember. And he couldn't remember things like basics. And he could remember very critical details about Bobby and Jim Holt and their relationship, but he couldn't remember what happened to his daughters. He couldn't remember what Josh Duggar told him about what he had done to his daughters. He couldn't recall. And when the prosecutors provided him a copy of the police report, which happened to have the watermark of In Touch on it, Jim Bob called it a tabloid report. Now, it's not a tabloid report when literally it's reported by In Touch. It just happened to be reported by In Touch, but it was an actual police report. And he read this in his head and he said that he still could not remember. So if you are running for Senate in the state of Arkansas and you want to be on the Senate in the state, you should probably have a good memory. And you should probably be able to remember key details. And obviously, saying you don't remember something is sort of a way, I think, legalese to try to skirt the truth without perjuring yourself. So you just play dumb. He doesn't remember things, and that revelation in court has angered Duggar Nation or Duggar haters, Duggar huggers, whatever you want to call them. And they're starting to get some critical feedback. And I kind of told you about this a couple days ago, but this actually just came in hot off the press in one of my sources told me this today. There was a parade in Arkansas, in Springdale over the weekend. It was their Christmas parade. And there was floats and everyone was out and it was just like a jovial time. And so apparently there was like the fire department was there and the police department, and they had floats. And I was told that at the event, Jim Bob and Michelle were on a float with some of their kids for his Senate race. And so the parade was going on without a hitch, And as they, I guess, were coming up behind like the police department and the fire department, people were cheering on anything to do with the police, the fire department. Apparently, when Jim Bob went past them in his float, Jed was on the float with him, some of the older kids, absolute silence from the public. No one was clapping. No one was cheering. It was utter like shock that Jim Bob and Michelle were on this float. People were marked with looks of disgust and irritation, I was told. People were just not impressed. So if you're wondering how Jim Bob is being perceived in the public right now, at the parade, people wanted nothing to do with him. People didn't want to look at him. People didn't clap for him. People were not interested. It was utter silence. So I was telling you about how the Duggars' businesses, the Duggars' reputation is starting to crumble in the area. It's affecting not just Jim Bob, but all affiliated people of the Duggar family, unfortunately. And people are fed up with the family. And, you know, whether it's a sad reality that people that aren't connected, that had nothing to do with Josh, could be penalized for what Josh has done. And the public in Fayetteville will have to decide, in Springdale, like what they can tolerate and what they can't tolerate, and if they can tease out. But right now it sounds like anything Duggar is struggling business-wise. So while Jim Bob is getting sort of like ghosted, only like silenced out at the parade, on Instagram and on Facebook, comments were starting to flood in on their pages, which they're heavily monitoring and starting to delete some comments. So apparently the reception from people on their Facebook pages have not been stellar. And I just wanted to share some of the comments because while he was testifying, he basically said he couldn't remember anything. And obviously, you know, it's kind of a blow at his girls, obviously. If you're going to say, I can't remember something that was really seriously impacted my daughters, I can't remember. And again, throwing his daughters to the wolves. I don't know that I was surprised that he would act like this. I figured he would be pretty, I don't even know, like when I say that I've known a lot of information about what's happened with the Duggars, I don't feel like I can accurately tell you like how much people have told me about the way that Jim Bob really views himself as the ultimate authority on kind of everything. And he takes that authority very seriously. And when people don't agree with him, he just cuts them out. And he doesn't deal with people that don't follow his rules or, you know, want to expose something that he's involved in. He's apparently very good at like skirting the truth and crafting little lies to fool people. But eventually people will catch on to it. And then as they catch on and start asking questions, he'll sort of like ice them out, start talking crap about them, smearing their names. In the world of narcissists, that would be called like smear campaign. They have their flying monkeys that do the work for them. So he's got his little posse of friends that help him. So Jim Bob is just not the kind of person that like likes to deal with authority because he feels like he's the authority. So I wasn't surprised that in court, that's how he was acting. He was acting like he had the literal like authority to question what was happening on the stand. He was literally like asking the judge whether or not like this was acceptable, calling what the prosecutors in this case were doing as unprofessional. Can you imagine doing that to a federal judge? It's not starting off your court case on a right foot. So when I was over at on his Facebook page, this is what somebody said. Someone actually posted a Luke. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed or hidden, that will not be made known. What you have said in the dark will be heard in the daylight, and what you have whispered in the ear in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from the roofs. Like what happens in the dark will always become light or come out in the light, you know? And someone responded to that saying, exactly, of all people, I would have thought years ago, Jim Bob would never have lied like this before the Lord. Why? JB has always been full of hot air, said someone. They're nothing but con artists and grifters that use God to lure their victims. Someone else responded by saying this, I'm surprised you remembered to post this. It seems like you have some memory issues on the witness stand today. Luckily, though, the judge put you in your place. And then someone responded and says, yeah, it seems like Jim Bob has some memory issues in court. Oh, well, better replay the Megyn Kelly interview for him, where he admits to knowing the atrocities his son committed against his daughters under his roof. Another person said, such hypocrites. You don't practice what you preach. Jim Bob lied in court today. Not very godlike to me. And then over on his Senate page, he's also deleting comments. And someone commented by saying this: either you lied under oath or you're an awful parent for not remembering the M your daughters endured. Either one is terrible and does not make you morally or ethically fit for office. Praying God leads you back to his true word and you find him again. May he open your heart and mind led you back to living a true Christian life. And then that same person said, are you seriously deleting comments? If you cannot stand to hear from all the public, you have no business holding public office. And then someone else said, Jim Bob, you are an absolute coward. I know you will remove this, but just like you remove all criticism, you are not capable of having a real conversation about policies. People are not impressed. And some people that actually supported the Duggars for a really long time are kind of starting to wake up. I don't know why it took this point for people to wake up. I don't know if it's because it's like sworn testimony that makes people feel like, okay, this is like literally he's going on record with the court and saying he doesn't remember something that atrociously happened that was so bad that his daughters are still dealing with that trauma that has caused his daughter to be cut off from the family because she told the truth. You know, I never respected the Duggars, but you know, when you literally shun the victim and you defend the perp in court, you're not a father to me. So Jim Bob's losing support locally, losing support online, the Duggars' long con of pretending to be good Christians, their jig is sort of up. So the jig is up for the Duggars and people are starting to pull support. Are you surprised that it's taken this long for people to figure things out about who the Duggars are? Do you think there could actually be a bounce back? Or do you think as the trial wanes and goes on and more information is revealed, do you think they're going to lose even more support? How do you think this is going to play out for the Duggar empire? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.